Good evening, welcome to Rivalz Race Chat. Adam Ross and Clinton Geoffrey here, as we are with all our friends on Tuesdays as we get ready to rock into the racing season. You're still smiling, bud? That means you survived the 5K along the bay?
Yeah, I survived it. I did see the Grim Reaper at one point, but turns out there was someone standing there in a Grim Reaper costume. I didn't actually die, so that was good.
I wonder how many people actually think they're seeing death. Now, I know that part of Hamilton because I grew up in the city, and the fact that they made you run up Bay Street, up York Street, up the longest, baddest hill, that's just torture to begin with. So
I didn't put a whole lot of thought into it, Clint, when we were doing it. But what do you mean uphill? Like, I've driven down that road. There's not much to it. But it is a steady incline for 2.5 kilometers.
yeah, we used to ride our bikes up there.
Our results, but I don't know if I can. Don't know. Did I send you the screenshots of Dave and I?
Yeah, narrate some of these pictures of what's going on here for the people.
Oh, that was just the sea of people at the start. I mean, there's more than 4,000 people that run the 30-kilometer version of the event. And to see them take off in a sprint was absolutely phenomenal. Like, it blows your mind how fast these runners leave the gate and then how fast they keep running. They did 30 kilometers, Clint, in 98 minutes.
Yeah, those are the pros. You guys made it, which is a big thing. So congrats on that.
So I just sent a screenshot of my time. I'm going to find Dave's here because we were actually both pretty damn close to our predictions.
Well, we're showing all these beautiful pictures, and you're not even telling anybody what we're looking at here.
You're looking at a running race. That's the inside of the arena.
All right, just park it on there until he realizes what we're looking at.
Yeah, that's a happy oh my gosh, how fat am I? So that reminded me I got a lot more weight to lose, but that was me just after I crossed the finish line. And yeah, it's a grind. I wasn't able to jog the whole 5 kilometers, but I made it almost 3.5 kilometers before I slowed to a walk. So that was the best I had ever done. But if you remember, what time did Hunsinger say? He was going to do it in 34 minutes. And I predicted 36 or 37 for myself because I thought Dave was full of shit. He backed up his time, but I backed up mine as well, which was pretty funny because at the time, you certainly aren't thinking about, have I been out here for 35 minutes yet? You're just trying to survive to the finish and keep air in your lungs. So yeah, there's mine, 36 minutes and 36 seconds. I was 648 out of 1,121, and Hunsinger was 456th in 32 minutes and 30 seconds. So he whipped my ass, Clint.
Well, good on both of you for getting out there, getting it done. I know that's a big thing to prep and be ready for. And I don't know how much you prepped, though, because I was with you in Mexico, and there wasn't a lot of prep that week, but you made it. So
took some time off. But I made it to work on Monday. Hunsinger was in bed all Monday pretending to be sick.
Yeah. Well, tonight we're going to have a wave around, get caught up. Anything you guys want us to talk about that we've been missing? I know the past few weeks have been crammed with lots of stuff going on. So this week we've got a few gaps. If there's anything you want us to talk about, let us know. I'll be happy to discuss it. We are going to talk about the announcer. What is the announcer's role? We had the forum with all the announcers last week. We'll talk about that in a second. We just talked about the 5K along the bay with Adam and Dave. Gary Adrianson is going to join us tonight. Adam, racer from the pavement ranks here in Ontario, if you don't know, and he's got a good story we'll be bringing to you. Of course, our Burger Barn Bit of the Week. Humberstone schedule will be coming out, and then we got a couple other quick topics we'll discuss throughout the night. If you guys don't have anything else you want us to talk about in the meantime. Adam, we got into a discussion a couple weeks ago about what is the announcer's role. That led us to our announcer forum Facebook group to pose the question, which led us to the announcer forum idea you had, and it brought everybody together. Show the screenshot of that, Spencer. It worked out pretty cool to have everybody to get together, and a great array of experience, and age group and styles and disciplines all joining on one. I think we had about 20 on at one point. Everywhere from a brand new announcer to Dave Moody from NASCAR. It was pretty cool to have everybody on board. Adam, I thought things went pretty well.
Yeah, it was probably a terrible idea, Clint. Like from an entertainment standpoint, and it was my idea. I can call it a terrible idea because from an entertainment standpoint, I don't know how many buttons it pushed. But from imagine being a young, impressionable announcer like some of the teenagers that we had on, and
So
being
not
able
us.
to listen, not us, being able to listen to Dave Moody, who's been at it almost half a century, to Cowboy Paul Small, Jim Irvin from Up in Sauble. There was a lot of veteran opinions. And Clint, you and I have bastardized the role of an announcer over the last 25 years at Oshwegan Speedway, right?
Yeah.
No, I mean, I'm not blowing sunshine. I'm just saying we called out officials when an announcer didn't do that, but it led to us taking on a more official role. Of course, you now being the general manager, but we definitely have kind of stretched the boxes of what you should be able to do as an announcer and combine different roles. And it was interesting to see what people had to say and what motivates them. And I enjoyed it thoroughly. It should have been horrible because you put 16 people together who love to talk, and it's going to make for tough media. But I thought it worked out all right.
Yeah, so if you missed it, it's the announcer forum, just a bunch of guys from our craft talking about it. I thought even if you're just a fan, you could find something interesting about, figuring out what makes the announcers tick from all over. I was a little bit worried, Adam, because we all like to hog the microphone, and when you put 18 to 20 of us all in the room, it could have been chaos. You did a great job moderating, getting everybody included, I thought, and going around the room and making sure everybody had their chance to speak, which was good on you. The other point that you and I debriefed later, I would love to be able to just let them fly. I think we broke it off into smaller groups, 5 or 6 of those guys at a time, throw a topic out and let everybody fight for the Zoom control of the meeting and figure out how we could get that done. I think that could be an interesting thought too, but it was a good starting point.
Yeah, it's sort of a professional development day, right? And I thought it was fabulous that the announcers enjoyed being a part of it. So the people within that group, because we're lone wolves, kind of, right?
Yeah.
Announcers. I don't care which announcer you pick. They're unique personalities, whether you take Shane Andrews or the late Rick Eshelman or Johnny Gibson, whoever you want to point to, Ron St. Clair, going back through time. Announcers are peculiar folks. And so to gather them all and have a loose association of a bunch of talkers is not a terrible idea.
So let's talk about a couple things. We're waiting for Gary Adrianson, going to join us around 8:20. So before he gets, I actually did some notes out of you, notes for our weekend. And here's what I come up with. We got to get this graphic made, or if you finally get a telestrator, it's a super rough copy, but you're going to get where I'm going. This is my weekend silly season notes. I don't know if you can make sense of that. These are all the teams and drivers that have switched teams. It's going to be a good talk bit to start off our year. There's been so much silly season in the sprint ranks at weekend, from teams breaking up to teams packing it in to teams splitting up to new guys joining. It's awesome, the storylines we've got there. I picked up the note to make sure we didn't forget anybody's topics. So I was like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell Adam that. It's going to be super cool. We'll get working on some graphics for that. But we had our first question. Micros on a Friday night, could they be added to the big program? In the olden days, we could have, where the track was in the infield, but I don't know how you facilitate that now. I think the best push we can get for the micros right now, Adam, is the Micro Sprint Nationals are part of our super ticket that's going to be blasted out and publicized here in about a week or two, which is a $125 pay one price for 5 nights in a row at weekend, including both NASCAR nights. But the night before the Monday of the NASCAR race of the Fresh Stone Dirt Classic is going to be the Northern Micro Sprint Nationals. The second time we've done it. All the campers were there last year. It's going to give these guys a great push on one of the biggest weekends we've got. So excited to see that. Any thoughts on adding the micros to the big show, Adam? There was a question here in the chat.
Yeah, certainly not on the big track, Clinton. I'm very much opposed to small cars racing on big tracks anymore. I know it's been done over the course of time, but I think that's not where we are with racing right now. And one thing for the viewers following along, please throw up in the chat who had the most influence on you as an announcer. What voice did you just love to hear at a racetrack? I love seeing stuff like Barney Hall, Kenny Hangover, Alan Bestwick. For me, it was Jack Burgess, Clinton, as far as car racing goes, and probably Vince McMahon or Bobby the Brain Heenan in terms of personality.
Bobby the Brain, that's totally you. I can see it. But take that to another level. So there's racers that I love to hear, but I would never aspire to be. So I would never aspire to be a Jack Burgess. I just didn't have that kind of voice. So for me, there's announcers. I love the classics. Like I go back to when I was a kid for Chris Economaki and those guys calling the earliest 500s on CBS. And when you look at, I'm also an old football guy. So a Keith Jackson calling college football on a Saturday. I mean, those are the voices that drew me to be an announcer, but I could never be them. I think the guy for me would be Ralph Shaheen. I think that's one of the best the compliments I ever got is someone said, "Wow, you remind me of a young Ralph Shaheen." And I'm like, okay, that was a serious compliment for me. So, I like
resonates, that. Right?
Yeah.
There have been some phenomenal voices and some phenomenal characters. One thing that always stuck out to me, it was burnt into my head, was an interview with Don Cherry, where they talk about his level of professionalism. And he pointed out, he says, "I'm not a professional. This is not what I do. It's just the role that I play." He says, "I never strive to be a professional." And that's really stuck with me. I found that to be incredibly impactful because I've always had that in the back of my head. I don't need to be a professional. That's Dave Bradley does that. Greg Callan does that. Like, they are true pros. I just need to be the best me, the best version that I can be. And that sort of helped me justify why I can be such a wingnut. Pizza's here.
Dad just said Dizzy Dean Murray. So
I don't ever remember Dizzy Dean announcing.
That was before my time.
Yeah, so, I hear he was great.
Pro Plan.
What is going on? Did you answer the door? Who's at the door?
Wasn't.
Doug.
Hey.
Let Doug in. What's up, Doug?
What's going
on? What's this, an ambush?
It actually is.
Did I
it
just
actually
hear
is.
You have to be the? Did I hear you just hear you say you have to be the best that you can be?
The best me
Get him,
I
Doug.
can be.
Okay,
let me set this up. Doug sent me a message this week, and like I get a couple times a week, said, "Adam's an idiot. Doesn't know what he's talking about after watching last week.
Right.
Xfinity cars and the dirt track finish line." And so, take it away, Doug. Do we need to rewatch the finish again, or are you just going to eat him up?
I mean, I can chew them up. First of all, just stick to announcing. Because your officiating days are long over. We appreciate your opinion, but every picture I've seen on your Facebook profile is a view of asphalt racing. In asphalt racing, there's a painted line on the racetrack where there's a start-finish line. There is no painted line on a dirt track. You go ask Dave Hunsinger where the start-finish line is on a dirt track. So you were very right. And I'll admit, in your finish of the Xfinity where the guy was going backwards because he crossed the painted line.
Oh, that had to hurt. Did that hurt, Doug? Saying that? Was that painful?
It's okay. It is okay.
Okay.
But that track right there has measured their transponder line so that when a car crosses where the transponder is on the race car, the nose lines up with that line.
I agree with you.
You don't get over to the pits very often at Ushrigan. But when you do come over, do you know the location of a sprint car transponder?
I know the base. Yeah.
It is at the right front corner. Do you know where it is on a dirt car modified?
They're modified.
It's,
The rear end of the car is it like closer to the rear than the front?
very right. So now if we have the loop in the right location as you want, and we measure at the back of that car to the front, it crosses the start finish line, it would be perfect. But on a sprint car, it won't. So this is why your comment last week was wrong on the dirt side. I'll give it to you on the pavement side, but on the dirt side, you just need to stick to announcing, and you can critique me through the wall, but you are an idiot.
I understand and I respect your opinion, Doug. I respect your opinion so much that I want to ask you a few questions. Would you mind? May I?
I've ignored my daughter all night here tonight for these calls. I was on a Super Dirt Car Series Zoom meeting for 2 hours, and now I'll entertain your questions.
Super Dirt Car Series, let's use it as an example. I've always enjoyed the Super Dirt Car Series. They go from track to track, different places almost every night. What year, who's won the most Super Dirt Car Series?
Races?
Championships.
Well, Matt Shepard just took the record.
And since Matt Shepard started racing, every one of his races, by and large, has been scored with a transponder.
I would agree.
Yes.
Who's won the second most championships?
Brett Hearn.
Okay. Brett Hearn started winning his championships long before there was electronic timing and scoring.
Yeah.
Did they used to paint a start finish line in those years, Doug?
Oh, that was dirt track? But that was a judgment call, and this is what we wanted to take away because race car drivers don't like judgment calls. It's entertainment.
No,
for
you see, the we you talk about, this is like Big Brother. There is no we. You score the finish the best you can. Brett Hearn won most of his 900 feature events without the luxury of transponder. So are you calling his statistics invalid?
Adam, what are you talking about? Don't let him get away with this crap. He's totally changing off topic.
Back to what you said that there should be a start finish line at a dirt track.
Let's get clear.
Well,
let's get clear back on the point. Hold on, Adam. Let's get back to the point of the matter. That Xfinity finish where the car skidded across the back. Doug said, we are 100% transponders. So I said, show the finish, Spencer. I said, even on this finish, that we can visually see the ass of the car came across the line. If the transponder said it was not in that spot, we are going 100% with the transponder data. Doug, what is your answer?
I mean, with that, we can go back to video replay on it, but our
That's not what you said, Doug, when we had this argument to gang up on Adam. That's not what you said when we made our plan.
The transponder is the transponder, and that's how we're scored.
That's what you said.
So, objection overruled. Objection overruled, Clinton. You make a bullshit argument. The point is, a win is a win is a win. The car that crosses the finish line first, even if it's a make-believe finish line, which it was for approximately 580 of Brett Hearn's wins because they were not electronically scored, it's still a damn win.
Anything?
I am not going to argue. I'm not going to argue if someone crosses the line backwards at Oshweekon and you go by transponders and it's clear that one car won even though you award it to somebody else. I will not argue it. I'm just going to post it on social media and I'm going to let it fester. Congratulations on your second place finish. That's all. I respect.
We have a social media ban. So here's what we'll do in the future. If there's a car
it's a great time to try a Mama Burger. That Mama Burger is just too
upside down. I'll come to you on your side, and you determine who finished where.
No, I'll just announce what I see. You call what you want.
But we'll make that rule. We'll make your scored finish, how you've seen it, official, and everyone else will score by the transponder.
No, let me bring it back to reality. It's easy, Adam, to overturn that when it's in the top 3, 4, 5 spots when everybody's got their eyes on it. Where it becomes fishy and difficult to police at our level. Okay, at our level. We don't have multiple loops. We got limited eyes, limited cameras. When it happens in 18th, 19th, that's when it becomes sticky, and you almost always have to live by it, unless it's a very obvious thing. And I'll give us an out of this because we do have Gary Adrianson waiting on the line. the out for this is Doug and I have always been able to stand up in front of the drivers and say, is it right? Is this the right thing to do? And if we have the evidence there, yes, some driver may get put back, but the argument is, look, next week it could go your way, and we're, again, going to try and do the right thing for the right situation. Nobody could argue, Adam, if the car skidded across the backwards and we went to change it. The problem is when you miss it, and that's when you get sticky with things, right?
So yeah, the only thing you could do it is if you had multiple loops or multiple lines across the racetrack and you switch them from each division, because the transponder location is different. Like, we'll use an example of our mini stocks or our thunder stocks. I mean, we have different wheelbases and that, so the measurements be different. The transponders be a different spot. So your Maple Leaf start finish line, the nose isn't going to line up with the transponder on each car.
But give or take 3 feet this way or that way, if a car's backwards skidding across the line in a spectacular finish and the top 5 are all there, we're going to see what happens and be able to determine who was really ahead of the other guy. But anyways, thanks, Doug, for jumping in. You almost made it work. Doug, you bailed at the end. Get out of here.
Doug,
go see Harper. Thanks, Doug.
Nicely done. I have great respect for what Doug does. I just vehemently disagree. And Clinton, you kept going into the weeds. You kept bringing in new rules, trying to de-escalate a situation. 18th place is just as important as second place to the person who finished 18th. You do everything you can do to get it right. Start-finish line has never, ever, ever changed at a dirt track. Electronic scoring, the last 20 years. I'll drop this right now because it's not fair to Doug because he's not here. I see what you did. I have mad respect for you ambushing me with Doug Leonard because it's probably the best way to go about that.
Of course it was. Doug called me last week and said, Ab's an idiot after watching this show. I said, oh, you got to come on and just jump him.
Just remember, we made this argument. I made this argument before we had a visual of an Xfinity race to go with it. I made this argument, said hypothetically this could happen. And now it happened, but now you say, okay, well, that's on pavement. It couldn't happen on dirt. Could happen on dirt. It's going to happen on dirt. Let's bring in Gary because let's wait until this happens again on dirt and we can have this argument another time.
Gary, welcome to the program. Thanks for joining us here tonight.
Thanks for having me, boys.
Gary, good to see you. I got such a kick out of your story at Motorama. Sorry, but like a half-second delay makes life so difficult. You sold out. You got out of the racing business. And I want you to tell a quick story about what you did when you sold out to make sure that you would never go down this road again.
So I've tried to quit a few times and, like a drug addict, I guess. I just keep having relapses. But this time I know how hard it is to quit once it's in your blood racing. And I sold everything. I sold my trailer. I sold my car. I sold all my setup equipment. I kept my hand tools, my jack stands and my jack, and pretty much sold everything else. I even got rid of my pickup truck because I have a company vehicle that I can drive around. So I got rid of everything, bought myself a 2021 Camaro ZL1, had some fun, and then I've been spotting for Darrell Lake for the last couple of years, and I just really miss it a lot. So I talked to my guys again and asked if they what they thought about maybe going back racing again. And I mean, a couple of them they came with me to help out Darrell. So I mean, we've been still together the whole time, anyways. But then I got this crazy idea that, hey, let's go racing again. So I talked to my wife now about it, and she's all for it. I've got an amazing woman in my life now, and I married her, and she's extremely supportive. It was odd that I finally found one that loved the sport and loved being at the track and everything that goes with it. And all right, I'm out. I quit. I don't need to race anymore. So then, even she was disappointed because, I mean, the last year that I ran, we were under COVID restrictions. So Delaware wasn't racing, so I traveled around with APC, and thankfully you guys were doing, G-Force Live TV, streaming the races, so she got to be there without being there and watching. And so I decided let's go racing again. So I have had to make a very, very expensive journey back to get back into racing here. That
was going to be my question. You obviously know the grind. you mentioned you missed it. Well, what could you miss? Certainly not the bills and the long hours. So what is it that draws you back in?
Just being in the driver's seat. Like I said, it's like I've relapsed. I really miss being in the driver's seat. I mean, you can only have so much fun on the street. It's just not the same as being on the racetrack with everybody else.
Gary, do you think if there wasn't such a compelling field of late models at Delaware Speedway right now, like, does that have something to do with your decision to it really is at a high point?
Yeah, actually, there is a lot of competition at Delaware. I mean, like, look at the guys that are out there now. I mean, Jake Sheridan's out there, Kyle Steckley, Ray Morneau has won the championship. Connor Pritico is, I mean, you've watched him get better over the last couple of years. Daryl Lake's out there. All these guys that are like real competition. I mean, the only one we're really missing out there is Joe Lawrence. And I ran with him in 2019, I think it was. And yeah, I definitely miss the competition for sure.
Gary, when I was doing a bit of research to get you on the show today, I stumbled upon your website. That's fresh and looking good. Tell us a bit about that and, how that helps you out.
Well, it gives me an opportunity to be a little bit more professional. I picked up a new sponsor this year, brand new to me, brand new to Asphalt Racing, which is JD Patrick Electric out of London. And Dylan used to race dirt bikes, sorry, not dirt bikes, motocross. And he hasn't been racing himself much in there. So I put out a Facebook post saying that, looking for sponsors for the upcoming season. And I mean, within minutes, he was messaging me saying, what can I do to get on board? So, and it was Dylan's idea to get a website going, and he was willing to, help out with that. And so I like the idea. I mean, it just makes us look more professional. We can, to attract new sponsors and stuff, like I said, we just look a lot more professional and like we mean some business here.
Just want to be clear,
Gary,
Adam, before I throw it over to you, Adam, the website is garysname.ca. So you can see it at the very top of your screen there. It's Gary Adrianson GaryAdrianson.ca. Check that out. Adam?
And there's more vowels in that name than you expect there's going to be. So look at it closely.
Yeah.
Spell
Not
it
everybody
a few
can be a
times.
Ross. And not everybody can be a Ross. Yeah.
So what's fascinating here, Clinton, did you hear? We had this conversation about a month ago, Gary, about how effective is it to go on social media and say, we're looking for partners. And there was a few different angles to the story. Some people said, no, what a waste of time. That doesn't get you anywhere. And some people said, no, maybe it does. There's people who throw fundraising parties. There's people who go about things a lot of different ways. I don't want to talk about dollars and cents because it's nobody's business. But would you say that Facebook post that you made a big difference in your ability to come out this year and go racing?
I would say with that one Facebook post alone is half my sponsorship right now.
So I would urge people, go search out Gary Adrianson on Facebook, because there's many different ways to go about something. And you've always presented yourself, Gary, fairly well. People could have a look at that, see how it's written, see how it's presented. But if you put the right opportunity into the right place, the ends justify the means. So congratulations for that. Clint, do you remember that conversation?
Yeah, I think I brought it up as a beef. I think my beef was, guys spelling sponsor wrong, and who wants to give me money when you can't even spell, a paragraph right. You have to be done in the right, proper way.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough. That's the point. If you put out a cohesive message and someone's there to see it, good for you, Gary. Congratulations on that, and I hope it continues to grow. It is going to be fun to watch. It's going to be some good racing on Friday nights at Delaware. Did you mention where you got the car from? It's a good competitive car.
Yeah, I bought Danny Benedict's car. I was actually looking at coming back to super stock racing just because it's a little bit more affordable. So I thought that I was interested in Pete Vanderwist's car, and then he decided he wasn't selling this year. He's going to split the ride with his son, and then Jay Dewar, I was interested in his car, and we talked on championship night there when he won the last race there, and um, we kind of talked and came up with agreement that, hey, if you are going to do it, give me first crack at it. And he was all for it. And then a few days later, he said, yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to do one more year. So there was a couple other super stocks for sale, but just nothing that really, caught my eye that I was really interested in. So I thought, I just got out of a late model. I've been working on the late model for the last couple of years with Daryl. And I thought, it's just an easy transition. And I mean, realistically, for what super stocks are going for nowadays, I mean, I hopped into a very competitive late model for, just a little bit more money. So, and thankfully I've been still involved for the last couple of years, working on a car. So, I mean, things have changed quite a bit in the last 2 years, even on these things. And so I'm glad I'm not too far out of it. I just got to knock some dust off this old guy.
Gary, let's talk about APC. What are your plans over there?
I would love to run APC. We did well when we ran in 2020. We got the Rookie of the Year, but unfortunately, the budget is nowhere near what it needs to be. I mean, if I'm going to do APC, I want to be competitive. I don't want to be just running around doing laps. So I think I've earned a great career in being competitive. So I would really like to keep up that. So I think I can do that at Delaware with the budget that I have.
Follow up, if you will, Adam. So Gary, what is it? Is it tires? Is it the motor package you've got? Is it what's the difference between Delaware and the APC series for some of our dirt fans who are maybe watching?
Actually, Delaware runs the same tires, same motor package. I mean, all the rules are basically exactly the same as APC series. The difference really is the traveling. You need different gears, different shocks, not different shocks, same shocks, but different springs, different setups. So, and the traveling itself going to all the tracks. I mean, and just the 7 race grind that we did the last time, it was long days. I mean, to do it properly, I'd rather just spend the night in a hotel overnight. The same with the guys. I mean, when you're leaving early in the morning to get to the track, and then it's a hurry up and wait game, and then you wait around all night, then a race all night, and then all right, hopefully you get to tech the car, but hopefully you don't get to tech the car. So and then load everything else up and make the drive home again. So it just makes for a really long day. And I mean, myself and my guys, we're not the youngest group anymore, but we're making it work.
I think it's inspiring what you're doing, Gary. Focusing on and I mean, you're not doing anything that a lot of other people aren't doing. You talked about Ray Morneau. That's been his focus. Focus on a Friday night program. Go out and be competitive. Again, he would probably run APC if everything lined up the way they could. But do something you can be really competitive at. Have a great time. Welcome back to racing. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch you. Appreciate you coming on tonight.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I really appreciate you asking me to come on, and we're looking forward to seeing what we can do.
Right, Gary. Thanks for joining us here tonight. Gary Adrianson, check out his website, garyadrianson.ca, to keep up to date on all his racing endeavors this upcoming season. Adam?
Again, another personality, another fun person to be around at the racetrack. And you know how some announcers claim are really good at giving monikers and nicknames and things like that? Yeah. I am not. But what stuck was the one year at the Short Track Nationals, Gary Adrianson, like a bad rash, he just won't go away because he kept hanging around in the top 4 or 5 when cars were fading and moving forward. And I don't know if it was Gary or if it was a significant other or who it was, but I got a message later on that they got a kick out of that. I don't know if it would make for a great T-shirt campaign, the bad rash, but just not my thing. Making nicknames is not my forte.
I'm surprised she went through with the wedding. I don't know if I could marry the bad rash. So, good luck on him. He made it work.
I hear you.
All
Yeah,
in fun.
absolutely.
Thanks, Gary, for being with us. I can see him laughing on the side, so at least he won't be throwing shit at us this summer. Not yet. Let's move on to some other dirt news. Let's jump to some funny stuff. So Steyer spends all this money on all these cars to do all this crazy stuff and ends up going viral on TikTok with 37 million viewers for a silly little video. What do you make of this, Adam? You've seen it, right?
I haven't seen the video.
Oh, it's I don't know. I don't see how 38
I
million
don't
views
do
it garnered, but either way,
I don't do
I don't do it either.
So now,
Play it again, Spencer, just because I don't see why it got 38 million views, but still, it's crazy that things go viral. So now the glasses company is making deals with them. They got promo codes and all kinds of stuff. It's crazy.
This is why, Clinton, you and I will always be sitting in our houses on a Tuesday night hosting a racing show, and Glenn will be flying around the world because he just gets it. He gets what people find entertaining.
Got the golden dust, I guess.
Yeah.
Let's move over and talk about something that's going to make Fran really happy. The Humberstone Speedway schedule, finally ready for release. Our website should be out in days, and you'll see this flyer circulating around. Final touches coming on to it. But let's have a look at it, Spencer, if you've got it there. It kicks off with opening night, June 18th, and a practice ahead of that, June 11th. So not a full every Sunday schedule. A lot of it's based around the long weekends. And, you got a few extra races in there. A lot of 3 triple headers for the sprint cars that will be live with GeForce TV, so that's exciting. Of course, the Classic All-Canadian Pete Costco. And a new event, Adam, that you're going to hear more about, Mayhem and Madness. It's a $5,000 win enduro and a $5,000 win Lucky 7 championship, including trailer race and more. So that's going to be the old-style Eve Destruction event in the middle of the summer. But the cool thing about that, Adam, is there's going to be 7 major events, one of them being the enduro. So I think a guy like Rodney Rutherford could come out, and if you can win the enduro, it's $5,000 to win. But if you can win all 7 out of 7 races, it's an extra $5,000. If you win 6 out of 7, it's going to be probably $4,000, and then $3,000, and so on and so forth. So an exciting aspect to a midsummer event. A lot of these things always happen in the fall. So Terry's trying to get something out when it's warm and have some summertime fun smashing up cars. So excited to see how Mayhem and Madness turns out. And I think for the guys that the Glen Hill types and the all those guys should have a lot of fun. Rodney Rutherford's and them of the world should have a blast with it. So excited to see that come out.
I hate to say this, Clinton, but I agree with Albers.
What was that? Yeah, I'm not a fan of it.
It's banned in most countries.
Yeah, I don't actually have a TikTok account. Glenn sent me that the video to check it out when they were getting it. Maybe that's how he got 30 million views, sending it out to all his friends. But no, it was taken off. It was 7 million, 14 million, 20 million. It was just crazy.
Can I tell you a funny story?
You're gonna.
It illustrates that people are always listening. Okay, so we had a staff meeting. We had a work meeting to go through accounts for Cal Tire that weren't being called on enough. They go down the list, and one of them was Equipment Express, a company that Fitzpatrick family owned. So I said, I'll call on that one. Another one was Wayfreight. Wayfreight is on the side of the number 17 Superstock, right?
Yep.
So I said, I'll call on Wayfreight. That'll be interesting. So today, my manager was with me today as we were doing sales calls. So we walk into the business and said, I'd like to see John Way, please. Fella comes out. It's 11:45, 15 minutes before noon. Fella goes into the boss's office and comes out about 30 seconds later. He says, John's got a meeting at noon, so he's really kind of tied up. So I said, that's perfect. I said, we'll be out of here well before noon. Don't even need 10 minutes of his time. So he goes back in, and then I hear a voice come from inside. Says, is that Adam Ross? So he heard me talking outside, and he walks out. I've never met John Way. So what do you do to break the ice? He says, hey, pleasure to meet you. Said, before we start, I just wanted to thank you for supporting racing in Ontario. He says, yeah, and it's Tamirsma.
I love
it. That's what he opened with. It was fantastic. So because I say it Teamersma, because I thought that's what Garrett said to me. So I said, look.
Does that mean I'm vindicated? I've been right all along?
Not necessarily. I said, if you want to do some tire business, I will start calling them Tamirsma forevermore. I said, but if there's no sales to be had here, we might have to debate it a little bit longer. But how cool is that he knew about the ongoing feud we've had about his name, and talked about what a great young man Garrett is, and a good ambassador for his business.
For sure. Those are always good stories when you can go out and just run into someone. It's a great icebreaker, and even shows how you can make your business, your day-to-day business better just by being around racing too. Two other big stories, Adam. Go ahead. You can elaborate there. We got lots of time today.
It's networking, right? We all do business with people, Clint, and that's what you've been able to do in your circle is attract a lot of people, right? People who own businesses. Look at just pick one or two people that we know, whether it's Tony Spiteri, whether it's John Brush, and look at what connects them with all sorts of other entities out there. And it's personality. Racing is what people have in common, but it's still the personalities that draw people together, and it makes a lot of business deals go round.
Yeah, for sure. Get open just by friends who can refer you to other things. Two kind of losses for the APC series, I would say. Obviously, Matt Pritico parking it for 2023. And then we'll talk about Brandon Watson, who they kind of lost last year already, but he's going to be back with the Pinty series. So that's good for the NPS. Not great for APC. Let's first off talk about Matt Pritico, Adam. Multi-time champ in this series. Multi-time winner, obviously a great ambassador for the sport, and has decided to concentrate on business this year. This story came out over the weekend. Show us the picture, Spencer, and the story. After 20 years of competing across a myriad of disciplines, racing veteran Matt Pritico is ready for a summer that will look considerably different. So he's not going to be going at it. He'll be concentrating on his body shop. Burwell Auto Body recently won the Best BMW Certified Collision Center. So all the best to Matt Pritico, Adam. But this is a bit of a loss. There's the next generation of Priticos coming up. But Matt was a great champion of this division that's been burgeoning so much in the past couple of years.
Yeah, that's definitely a loss. He's a great presence at the racetrack. But good for him. Congratulations. And certainly we can respect the focus on family, the focus on his business. And, he doesn't have anything left to prove. He's accomplished a lot. And we will miss seeing him at the racetrack. And hopefully, with a year off, maybe a couple of years off, we'll find him back on the scene. And like you say, Connor Pritico is maybe ready to fill those shoes right away.
Yeah, we've got Brandon Watson sticking around. As we mentioned, you set it up for next week. Brandon's going to join us and talk about what the plans are for the Pinty series. Run that story, Spencer. Good to see Brandon coming back. And again, one of the most successful late model racers in the modern era. I think that's a very strong statement. That's very true when it comes to talking about Brandon Watson. After making the move to the Pinty series last year, had some great runs, 4 top 5s, 9 top 10s, 3 poles, and 1 win. I think he can absolutely be a contender. They say they're going to go for the championship this year. I think he's one that can do it and could actually get it done.
There's a lot of drivers who have won the last race of the year as their first win. I'm going to go off my memory banks. I believe Scott Steckley got his first win at Kawartha. I believe Jason Hathaway did as well, if I'm not mistaken. I'd be very curious to see what their records were like the following year, because if I remember correctly, they had very strong years the year after their first win because you carry so much momentum. So I think that's fabulous for Brandon Watson. Next Tuesday, we've got Brandon coming on the show. We've got Alex LeBay scheduled to come on the show, fresh off a great performance with a faltering race car at COTA on the weekend, and he's going to be running Richmond this weekend as well in the NASCAR Xfinity Series.
Awesome. So cool that we can get right to the top and bring you guys the best. Speaking of the best, Ricky says we got to get Brett Stratford on here, but he's too shy. Brett's a little too high-strung for this program. I don't think we can get him to sit still for an hour. But we could work on that. I see Brett a couple times a week at the shop. We could work that out. So we cleared off the rundown, Adam. We got some time to chat here. I'll answer a question. Kyle Tomaski, what happened to Tanner Fox in Action Expo? So if you don't know, about 5 years ago, we tried to get Action Expo going. It was a kid event at Ohsweken Speedway. Mother Nature came in and poured down on us and ruined the second half of the event. Tanner Fox drew a heck of a crowd. But I think, after all the stress for that, I think that was my lesson as a promoter, to stick to what we know. A lot of people said, why don't we do a concert at the Speedway? Sure, it'd be great. I go to Delaware's concert last 2 years and have the time of my life. I love it there. They do such an awesome job. The thought about doing that this weekend's cool, but it's a lot of hassle and headache too, and it's a lot of risk. So I just figured, stick with what we know. If we lose our ass doing races, we can hold our heads high and say, okay, we missed that one. But if you're way out of your lane, as I like to say, those losses hurt so much more. Does that make any sense?
You also want to be a good community partner within Ohsweken, within Six Nations.
That's a tough battle.
It's right in the town. So every Friday night we're polluting the air with a lot of noise. I love that kind of noise pollution, but there has to be give and take. And Alvars, you're absolutely right. Huge shout out to Cole Butcher, Easter Bunny 150 winner down at Hickory Motor Speedway.
Yeah, Ohsweken does face that battle. It is tough. Try not to beat the community up, as I like to say, too much. It can be really tough. But, DH says he's buying an RV to travel the tracks this summer. Any advice? There's so many good places to go. I guess it depends if you're a dirt guy or a pavement guy. That'd be the first question. But, I don't know. Pick two events you have to go to, Adam. One dirt, one pavement for DH.
Well, funny, the advice I was going to offer was to buy a quiet generator and a good power washer.
Hang out the dirt tracks?
Anywhere. Any advice? Go to Canadian Tire Motorsport Park. Convince yourself you're just going to camp for a few days, but go when there's a race going on. You will be blown away at the overall experience. That would be my advice. Go to CTMP, go to an oval race with good camping, whether that's Sunset, Delaware, Sauble. They're all set up fairly nicely for camping, and make sure you get down to Ohsweken for one of their events. Go to at least those three and whatever else you want to. And at the end of the year, come back and see us. Let us know what you thought of those events and how one compared to the other.
Yeah, I say, you got to experience either the NASCAR weekend at Ohsweken or the Nationals. That's always a good camper weekend with some good camping camaraderie and a good crew, parties all night. CTMP would be on my list for sure. Delaware, like I said, we've made it our family weekend, season kind of ending weekend at Delaware. We go to concert Thursday, then 3 nights of racing, capped off by the Pinty Series, Quick Superstocks Friday. You got hot rods in there. It's got everything from the pavement side. And it's all right there off the backstretch. So that'd be my recommendations. Around here anyways, Robbie's talking about going to the Four Crowns at Eldora. And if you ever go to Ohsweken, obviously, Campground Robbie's going to fix you right up. There's my Pepsi can right
Absolutely. There. Oh, that's fabulous.
So I guess I'm going to have to start getting on it. How am I going to track these to make sure I get credit for everyone I eat? Because I'm going to have to get them even when you're not around.
So You're going to have to film yourself eating every one.
Oh,
There's got to be a full banana and some sort of a hand signal that's different every time.
you sure this
And we'll
isn't a fetish
be
for you just to watch me eat bananas all day long?
there's a saying for things like that. Win-win.
Weird.
Oh, I expect to be down another 20 pounds by opening day.
Oh, so that's going to be a
50
total of how
bananas.
many? Oh, man.
Around 50.
That's rough.
And I still got a long way to go.
I'm
Greg
gonna be
Calvin, Kyle, doesn't like us. He puts on a good. He fakes it well on race night. Greg. I have so much respect for Greg Calvin. He does not get swept up in the racing lifestyle. Like, he works in it. He's an amazing professional artist, website designer, t-shirt designer. He's probably the best announcer that I've ever worked with, and I've worked with some really, really good announcers, but just all the things that he brings to the table, and he can shut it off like that and go be with his family and be at home and be perfectly happy. He doesn't need people like Clint and I. We need this constant positive reinforcement or negative reinforcement, depends on the week.
Yeah, I'm laughing because I'm thinking how many times we had to bribe Greg to come work for us on a Saturday. Like, come on, Greg, we really need you, buddy. Please, please, please. So, no, he's cool. But yeah, Greg's awesome. Every year I'm like, you're coming back, right? You're coming back, right? He's great.
I think he appreciates
it. To be up 20 pounds. That's not the right way.
That's left side weight. That's left side weight, buddy. I think Greg has had more fun since there's been less pressure to go everywhere and do everything and do more. He's been in a much better mood the last season, really, coming to work and working the race nights and being able to leave a little bit behind.
I think we all have. Last year was the best year. I think we all got along because I think 2 years ago, I mean, I come from a musical background. You can see them behind me, but like, I used to look at the Beatles and the Eagles and wonder how they would be battling and almost breaking up when they're on top of the charts and killing it. And we were like that 2 years ago. We were all just at each other's throats, and I think it was a good bit of reflection where we all just stood back and said, okay, what do we all need to do to make each other not crazy? And it seemed to work out pretty good. So, all right, Kyle Tomaski's got full questions. I'm liking this.
Yeah.
Why did
it's a good question.
Blue after all the orange? Trying to think who I had this discussion with yesterday, and it just made me laugh. But yeah, so Glenn was all orange for the longest time, and then a couple years ago he just said, "I want to make everything blue," and I'm like, "But wait a minute! For 23 years, if you saw orange in racing, you automatically knew it was Oshwegan." But he likes the blue now, so we're blue, I guess.
Yeah, we'll have to ask him one day.
Alvers, are there handicapped camping spots in Vigo? Yes, there are a few of them. Send me a message. We can get you hooked up with them. We got bathroom freight nearby and make it easy for pavement spots and such to make that easier right close to the grass. So we will definitely help you out there if we can. Anything else, Adam, you want to discuss? I think my list is empty. Back to the micro sprints on Fridays. If we get the big screen one day, which I'm dreaming about, which I don't think we'll have it for every night this year yet. What if we did them at intermission? That'd be awesome. Have the micro sprints featured on the big screen intermission. That could work. But
for sure.
Oh,
you could even show the features from the night before at intermission, even if they weren't racing live at the moment. But there's a lot of things you could do to. I encourage people, come out on a Thursday night. You'll enjoy the show. It's fun. You get to see a lot of the Friday night racers, some of them competing, some of them just milling around the pits and having a good time. What a difference tonight has been, Clinton. The last number of weeks we've gone either 3 guests or 4 guests, and there hasn't been much time for banter. So this week you ambushed me with Doug Leonard, which again, I appreciate. That was a blast. And
had to.
We had Gary. Oh, yeah. Oh, and he was texting both of us during the show, and it's always fun getting a rise out of Doug.
That's awesome to hear. Rick Burburn, crew chief extraordinaire and Superstock pilot, says he's going to be bringing the kids out to the micro sprint track. That's great. We have the two-seater sprint car. It ran a lot of the nights last year. Kyle, if you're interested in a two-seat sprint ride at us, we can send me a message. We can hook you up. Greg's actually going to be dropping down a sign-up form on the website because we have so many requests for it. You'll be able to go on, book your time, and figure out when you can go out on the two-seater. We maybe even start doing them on Thursday nights during the micro sprint program, just because we have more time. We can service a lot more people through that two-seater program. So excited about that. Excited to have so much cool stuff going on. We're continue to improve the micro sprints, new sound system going back there, some new pavement, and possibly a bit more concrete for the micro sprints. So that's exciting to see that going. Wow, Hunter Hill in a micro sprint ride. These are like
That's
these
wild.
are like the kids that grew up watching us now have their own kids. That's ridiculous. Yeah. How about happy birthday to Spencer?
Yes.
Our wizard behind the scenes who does so much for us. We appreciate all he does. Spencer, I just
I
sent
can't
you
believe
a
you blew
picture.
his cover. Oh, so did
I know.
actually.
No, I had to put up the one of him eating the cupcake on a lollipop, but I liked your post. Your post was way better. Show me that last post I just sent you, Spencer, if you can. You hear us talk about the moat at Ransomville and Merrittville, Adam. This is what it used to be. It was a moat, like a castle moat, like 2-car wide moat. Not what we grew up at Merrittville with. Even in the last years, it got filled in quite a bit, but it used to be wild. Can you imagine? So, just for you folks who aren't familiar with what we're looking at, the left side is all the grandstand. Then you got a big double wide ditch with the car facing backwards down the straightaway. And then on the right side is the lip of the dirt track where the car is resting with the hood up, coming basically down the front straightaway into turn one. But crazy.
So they used to actually stay on the racetrack, right?
Yeah.
These days they race right into the moat. They use that as part of the front stretch.
Yeah, but look how much it was open back then. So imagine the flood of muddy crap getting flung up into those first few rows when a car got slammed down there. And these weren't lightweight cars. These were like 4,000-pound coach boats that would just landslide the whole first 10 rows. But so awesome to see all that going on.
Now, I'm fascinated by the picture I shared, Spencer, if you were able to show it. The reason I find it so fascinating is that Mark Da Silva has been posting images from Cuba of him on the beach, relaxing, having a good time. And here's Kyle Da Silva back at the race shop, slaving away on the mini stock while they check out There's Mark. I thought Mark would have had a darker tan. Is that? I'm gonna trust that that's a live shot of the Da Silvas working on that mini stock. But see, Mark was so refreshed by his time in the Caribbean that he's ready to come back and put a race car together.
Yeah, that's cool.
Tristan Da Silva, Kyle Da Silva, what a racing family.
Had some good runs last year. Wesley Shaw,
Jerry
tickets
Cullen
are on sale. Tickets on sale next 2 weeks. The waiver is a new pit waiver, same idea. And front page right now, if you go there, the QR code is there. You can sign your annual waiver for Weekend Speedway right now. Go to OshWeekendSpeedway.ca. Tristan, not Kyle. Twitch, it says.
No, Kyle sent me the picture, Rob. Blow it out your ear.
Yeah.
I'm gonna open this just to make sure. Yeah, the picture came from Kyle. To Jerry Cullen's question about having a women's race, I can't speak to that because I don't run the track, but I can tell you my thoughts. We've seen lots of women races at Weekend, and they spank the boys on some nights.
Yeah, I mean, it falls to me with amateur races or first timers or ladies races. They're amazing if they're pure at heart. And what I mean by that is you have real first timers. So the mechanics races are real mechanics with no experience. What happens is you get the buddy from the other class. So we'll have a street stock mechanics race, and a crate sprint guy will jump in it just for shits and giggles. Well, that's not the spirit of the race. So all you guys who did that, you're welcome, because you ruined it for everybody else. And after year of doing it, same thing with their spectator one-on-ones, Adam. We tried King of the Hill at Osh Weekend. You know what we had? We had our own safety gear and our own fire crew racing for the money. That's not the spirit. So not doing that no more either. The best thing we did, the Fan Blast 500 foot race. Now that was worth the
Yes.
fun.
That was a good one.
Yeah, like, okay, Tomaski brings up Christine Porter versus Charlene Dooley back in the day. Good ladies race. A spirit of what it was supposed to be. You know, both had some skills, but neither were pros. Neither of them did it weekly. They did it once a year, twice a year. Same thing with the Eva Destruction deal. You know, people want to have a ladies race, and then what happens when Holly Porter and all these girls come out and race? Is it a race for the ladies? No, you're just giving the ladies who race with the men an advantage.
In 2023, I'm very proud in racing that we have different divisions, but none of them are based on gender, race, age. Like there are basic age, like there are some junior classes, but for the most part, here's the rules, come out and race if you want to race. And we don't care how you identify. Just make sure you're wearing a valid helmet with the proper Snell rating and a fire suit and get her done.
The problem is, I was just thinking, I'm going to show up for the races one day and say, I identify as a 360 sprint car driver. Well, shit, if I had enough money in my wallet, I could absolutely identify as anything I want in this sport, which is the scary part, too.
Yeah,
you just need money.
No, that's it. That's a conversation for another day, too. There are no precautions.
So much to be said on so many different topics. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. Thanks, Adam, for hanging out. Happy birthday week, Spencer. Always good to see you. Go out and check out the announcer forum if you didn't see it and you just got some time to kill. You can hear what makes all the announcers tick. It was interesting for us. Hopefully you find it enjoyable as well. And I think that's about it. Kyle Tomaski, one last thing. There is a Noel Teal Memorial Race on Memorial Night at Osh Weekend coming up this summer. And we'll end on that. See you soon, Adam.
Have a great night. See you next time.